Hey everyone, me Kevin here with the latest on stimulus. We have now had 249 days of stimulus talks with no action by Congress. Yet today, we get a little bit of a potential deadline date for a stimulus relief package, which could be some good news. Quick note, we are about 16,000 subscribers away from 1 million subscribers. So if you want to be part of the 1 million crowd, that is the pre-1 million crowd, consider subscribing today. Hit that red button, make it great. All right, lawmakers are now indicating that they want to pass the Corona Bus. Instead of omnibus spending bill, they want to pass the Corona Bus, aka a combination of COVID-19 relief and an omnibus spending package. That's the omnibus spending package is the bill that will keep the government funded. It's a package of about 12 spending bills. This is a U-turn from what lawmakers said in the last few weeks, where we heard that lawmakers will not pass a stimulus package with a spending bill to keep the government funded. That instead they wanted a clean bill to keep the government funded. Well, now we got the Corona Bus. Both Mitch McConnell and Democrats are seeking to get this new Corona Bus package passed by December 10th in the House and December 11th in the Senate. December 11th is the deadline to keep the government funded, and it means we only have 8 working days left in Congress for the rest of the year. House Majority Leader Steny also says that the reason December 11th is so ideal for a deadline is for their own purposes, so that way they can go home and quarantine for 14 days and still be with their family on Christmas after a 14-day quarantine. Who would have thought that's how they set their deadline? Steny went on to say that Mitch McConnell agrees with him and also hopes to pass a stimulus package and a government funding package by December 11th. Now remember, right now there are 3 stimulus packages at play. One is from Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, which we don't yet have details on their plans. Chuck Schumer yesterday said he wanted to keep those details private in negotiations, and quite frankly, I have no idea why. You would think he'd want to negotiate this out in the public, kind of like they have been doing for the last 249 days, but apparently they're not for this one. Then there's the bipartisan stimulus package of $908 billion, and then there's the Mitch McConnell smaller bill. Yesterday, I broke down Mitch McConnell's smaller bill in detail. Here's a quick recap in case you haven't heard it yet. Basically, Mitch McConnell's bill is smaller than the $500 billion bill we've had the last time. That's because they use more of the CARES Act money to kind of offset what's probably like a $600 to $800 billion bill, minus $500-ish billion of leftover money that they have, 460 to 500 billion of leftover money they have that they're going to repurpose. Mitch McConnell's bill would include liability protections, a second round of PPP funding, and extension of unemployment benefits through January, not a boost, just actually unemployment. $105 billion for schools, $10 billion for post offices, meal deductions for businesses, $31 billion for vaccines, $5 billion for childcare, $500 million for fisheries, and a few other changes like changes to 529 plans, which are the college saving plans, educational spending plans. You can see the full details in yesterday's video where I broke down the 3 plans in more detail. Mitch McConnell does not plan to include stimulus checks, and he does not include an unemployment boost. Mitch McConnell instead insists that we pass something that the president is willing to sign, which Steve Mnuchin gives us a little bit of an idea of which package that's going to be. In fact, he is kind of blunt about what he thinks is going to pass. Here we go.
The president will sign the McConnell proposal that he put forward yesterday, and we look forward to making progress on that. I'm not going to publicly comment on it, but I did speak to her briefly, and there's also the bipartisan proposal.
AKA, he's not going to talk about Nancy Pelosi's proposal, and there's also the bipartisan proposal, but neither of which he is going to comment on because he believes the Mitch McConnell bill is the one that's going to get done. And honestly, his body language here kind of suggested that he didn't even really give Nancy Pelosi's proposal any kind of serious consideration. It almost kind of felt like Mnuchin was hardlining a bit here. Maybe he's upset that possibly soon he won't have a job anymore and have to join unemployment. But, okay, I'm being extreme here, obviously, but it is entirely, he didn't even seem to really care about the other proposals in the way he responded there. Moving over to the bipartisan plan, which also does not include stimulus checks, but does include $300 per week in unemployment aid as a boost. Here's what Joe Manchin had to say this morning. Gives us a little bit more insight into what he's thinking about this bipartisan proposal.
That's the problem, Brian. We've been talking about, and our leadership's been at a stalemate, both in the Senate and over in the House. the people are hurting in my state of West Virginia. They're hurting in every state. And we're in a worse pandemic now as far as the outbreak of the pandemic will get much worse this first quarter. We're trying to get through the most difficult times that we've ever had. And that's going to be people that are losing everything as far as all their benefits are running out at the end of December, and the economy hasn't recovered. There's more shut down. There's no outside dining, and a lot of inside dining has been shut down. So we have restaurants hurting. We have so much that needs to be assisted here. There was $560 billion, roughly $560 billion left over from the first CARES package. And that's what Leader McConnell is calling the skinny package. He just wants to get that.
I just want to quickly clarify the numbers. So there's $426 billion from the Federal Reserve's 5 programs they shut down. And there's a $26 billion loan on top of that. That gets you to about that 456-ish number. The reason sometimes we hear this $550 to $600 billion number is because there's still PPP money left over of about $100 to $120 billion.
Out the door. We've put, with Democrats and Republicans working together, another $348 billion to that, makes it $908. So it's only $908 of new money. So people that think it's too much or people think it's not enough, maybe we've hit the sweet spot, and we're hoping our leadership will look at this in a very constructive way.
I don't think the sweet spot is anything that does not include stimulus checks, but who am I? On the election, Donald Trump tweeted today that big voter fraud hearings are happening today in the great state of Michigan. He says this election is a far bigger scandal fraud than anyone would have thought. Not even close. By the way, this comes as Donald Trump is also threatening to shut down the military if Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act is not repealed. I will link a video down below or probably up here on the screen somewhere, so if you have not yet read about or heard about what Section 230 is or what the military shutting down means or looks like, watch that video. I explained it all in detail for you. On COVID, the CDC has updated their quarantine guidelines officially now. Before it was just a suggestion. And now they're saying, look, if you want to be absolutely certain you don't have COVID, 14 days. If you have no symptoms after 10 days, though, you're probably good. And if you get a negative test on day 7, you're probably good. But a negative test on like day 1, 2, or 3, almost worthless. So keep that in mind. On cases, we are at 184,174 cases, with deaths at 2,607 today. That is an increase of 31% on a 14-day average here. 2,607 deaths. We are getting to the point where we are going to start losing as many lives as we did on 9/11 every single day from this pandemic. Obviously, we've also heard the news, I'm sure you have by now, that the Pfizer and BioNTech vaccine was approved in the United Kingdom. Also made a video discussing my thoughts on how this might be a cure for society. Check that out on the channel as well if you haven't yet. Sorry for referencing all the other videos, but we've got a lot of options for you to choose from. Consider subscribing if you like the content on the channel, and folks, we'll see you next time.